Hello, career thought leaders. It's good to see you today. And we are talking about the new-ish Microsoft and LinkedIn research on the jobs of the future. What skills are AI tools doing for folks and what that might mean for the future of work? This is a topic that we've been talking about for a while, of course. And a few months ago, we looked at some research out of Stanford, some Pew research, some of the data on what tasks AI might take over, what jobs might take over. And then this Microsoft study came out, and it's a little bit different in how it is coming up with these predictions, because it's actually not predictions as much as it is the research around what is AI actually already doing for people. So you know that we come here every Tuesday, do our Trend Tuesday Live. If you aren't subscribed yet on our YouTube channel or you're following our LinkedIn page, do that so that you get notified when we go live every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So this is a global issue. And one of the things that we've been talking a lot about is young people and how much young people are being impacted by the shift in jobs. But I want to talk a little bit about some historical context. Don't worry, I'm not going to bore you with a ton of history, but just some historical context to this conversation, because it's not new and it's not entirely AI driven, although it may be somewhat automation driven, and those are two different things. But I'd love to hear from you if you just drop into the chat. Are you working with clients that are having their jobs taken by AI, or let's say that you're worried about their job being taken by AI? What types of jobs are they in? So if you're working with people who feel like their job has already been taken by AI or they're worried about it, what fields are they in? I'd love to hear that. They could be helpful for us all and your colleagues to see that as well. So let's talk about the background, the stuff that had already been going on before we get to this point in time where we're talking about the future of work being changed by AI. There are already some things in play when this conversation started. So this Future of Jobs report came out in 2020, and it was from World Economic Forum. You all know we've been following this for a while. So this was 2020. This might have been the first one that I paid attention to, actually. 2020 World Economic Forum, Future of Jobs. And we started talking about this. I think it came out late 2020, early 2021. We started talking about it. And it's the idea that young people were transitioning out of careers that were already losing steam for several reasons: demographics, economics. Obviously, this point you had COVID, but this research would have been done kind of at the transition of COVID, and automation, which now today I feel like we say automation and AI synonymously. They're not really, right? They're sort of different things, but this change was already happening before ChatGPT hit the scene, because this was coming up in the World Economic Forum 2020 report before that happened. So we're seeing a shift, like higher education, right? The decline in higher education is significant, related both to online learning that may not have been totally captured here, as well as just demographics. Fewer young people, fewer college age folks are going to be coming into that space because of the demographics. Restaurants, again, the COVID shift, as well as other economic shifts. Retail, going online, you don't need as many people to do that. Food and beverage, entertainment, hospitality. Now, some of these industries come and go, right? They are in waves, and some of them are being replaced either because of economic pressures or automation. If you've had a restaurant where the person comes with a robot, and the robot is helping them deliver your food, right? These technologies are not just in places that we think about them, they're also in other places. Now, what I love about this World Economic Forum visual from way back in 2020 is that it did the mapping. So here are the jobs that were declining right now, And then here's some of the things that our people could move to, and some of the pivot points in the middle that help people move from where they were to where they were going. And it had all these nice little lines that said, okay, if you're in higher education, for instance, you could shift into being a software engineer, and then you would flow into this information technology and services arena that at that time was growing. So this is the background. One, that these types of jobs had been having a struggle before ChatGPT because automation was coming before that. It's just accelerated in some ways. And two, that there are pathways going from things that are declining to things that are increasing. The problem is that there's a constant churn. And as we look at the most recent World Economic Forum data, we know that that churn is going to be increasing. There's going to be more jobs lost and more jobs created than ever before in the next 5 years. And that creates this challenge of churn. So I love this. Thank you, Darren, for sharing. New job at Ivy Tech. Yes. I look forward to hearing what your students say and what they're seeing out there. So when we think about this and what it looks like, the new research on AI has really tried to get it down to a skill level. And some of the stuff we shared a couple of months ago is more predictive. The things that we're looking at today are actually what happened when Microsoft looked at what skills, what tasks were people using AI to do that they thought it did a good job. So this is the task level, and it's not predictive. It's a study of what's actually happening. So I find this graphic a little bit more confusing than the other one. Like, sit for a minute and decipher it. So I will decipher it for you now that I wasted that time doing that, spent that time doing it. So what you have on the left are skills that people are actually using AI to do. So they are actually using AI to provide information to customers, to respond to inquiries, to provide general assistance. And what's interesting in the study, this Microsoft study using Copilot, they said that these were things that people thought AI did well. And so it isn't just like the percentage of people using it, it's that they also thought that they did these tasks well. And so you can kind of see these tasks that AI is doing. And it had like the size of the boxes is how many people are using it to do that. Again, they've got a lot of things going on in just this one chart. The bottom line is that when you look on the right, these are the jobs that use the most skills that people are replacing with AI. So in essence, the jobs on the right are listed in those at the top having the most exposure to AI, and then going down from there. And again, the box size is the number of people in that type of career. So when we think about like interpreters and translators, we know that that job is heavily using AI. Now, again, this exposed to at the moment does not mean that that job is being completely taken away, but it does mean that they are using AI to do all of the tasks that you see on the left. So this doesn't give us a future picture. It doesn't give us a crosswalk of, okay, what are the skills that are less exposed to AI? What are the skills that AI isn't doing as much of? And how can we help our clients find those jobs? It just looked at the jobs that were most exposed, most at risk, perhaps, related to AI, and thinking about how can we look at the skills that are involved in that and say, okay, these are the skills that you need to learn how to use AI to do this. If you're going to be able to stay in that job, you'll use AI to do this, and then you will add on top of that, right? Because AI is not taking away the whole job. at least not in the near future. That's not what we're really talking about here. And I hate it when, even the old saying that came out in 2021 from Stanford, MIT, that AI won't take your job, someone using AI will. It's a little overly simplistic, because eventually AI will take some of these jobs. And we are helping people walk the walk, right? They're not going to jump straight from the job they do today to a brand new job. That's unrealistic. And it puts most people on a bad path towards not being able to live. Because we know when you make a big career transition, it takes a lot of time. You're talking new education, you're talking all of these things. So how do we help people walk through their transition in a way that keeps them employed, keeps them employable, and keeps them learning and moving so that they're employable at the next stage? We're not necessarily thinking about 10 years out. We're thinking about this 1 or 2 years out. These are the tasks that AI is going to be doing. So yes, you need to be able to use AI to do this job, or you will get eliminated. Some of people will get eliminated anyways. But if they can learn how to use AI to do these skills, and then they can figure out what is the small pivot that I might be able to make to do the next job that requires a worker. This mentality, this idea, this analysis, I like, because it isn't AI agnostic. We were just having the same conversation about our folks that are getting laid off from USAID and government contractors and the government themselves. We're having the same conversation with them. So here's the skills that you have. Some of those skills may not be needed as much anymore, right? If there's not as much international aid going on in the market right now, even looking at nonprofits and other things, there's just not as many positions right now that use those skills. So how do you look at the other skills that you were using, and of course the translation of those skills, to find the spots in the market that are in need right now, the places that are growing? And the challenge is that's going to keep shifting. We're going to keep having this conversation with folks, which is why when people ask me, is AI going to replace career coaches? I'm like, no way, because things are just moving so fast. And it's such a human conversation that yes, AI as a career coach can help me help you figure out what are the skills that you've been using, what are some opportunities to move those into. But that's just like a third of the conversation. Then we've got to do the connecting of the dots, which AI can help us with, but it can't help pull the stories out of my client that we need to be able to tell to show that they've done those skills. I've found very few people can answer a form very well, which, ChatGPT is going to ask them a question. It's not going to ask the follow-up. It's not going to dig deeper. It's not going to make sure those dots are being connected. So that's the piece that people need help with. So I was doing this at USAID. How do I communicate that in a specific and yet kind of where agnostic way? Because you don't want to make it specific to where you were doing it. But if you make it so generic that it doesn't say anything, then it sounds like ChatGPT wrote your resume and you're out, right? So we've got to help people identify the opportunities. Then they have to research and figure out what really is a good fit, because something aligns with the skills that they were using in an old job doesn't mean necessarily that it's going to be a good fit culturally, values-wise, money, whatever, all the criteria that we as individuals have to make a move successful. So we can help them do that part of it. And then the iterations. So ChatGPT might give me a few ideas, or I like to use Perplexity for this as well, because again, the more research-based system that we can help people understand where their skills might plug in the new market, in things that are growing, trends that are happening right now, and not get too caught up in 5 years from now. And this is the other conversation we were having, is redefining stability. So stability isn't a job that you're going to have for the next 5 years. That's just not it. Stability is understanding how to do this. know your skills, who you are, what you want to do, and then be able to research the market and repackage or reposition those skills to meet the current market need. And to know that it's going to shift every 2 or 3 years. And that doesn't necessarily mean that each individual we work with is going to have to change jobs every 2 to 3 years, but it for a lot of people, that is going to be the reality. And so how will they continue to stay rooted in who they are while positioning to meet the market need? There's a research aspect to that AI can help with. There's a human storytelling capacity piece to that they'll need to develop that we can help them with. And then there's the mindset of changing our thought around stability from a job, someone else providing it, to me and my skills, my network, right? We always talk about they've got to have the portable skills, they've got to have the network relationships, and then have the opportunities to make those connections. And that's what we want to help people develop. So some of you know this about me, but my parents were a school teacher and a government BLM worker. And so I envisioned a very linear, stable, in the stereotypical idea of the word, career, right? Where I was going to work at the university and just work there for 30 years and then retire, because that's what I could see myself doing. It fit into my worldview. But then it didn't go the way I wanted it to, right? I wanted to work in career services. I had my degree and it just wasn't happening. And I had a little taste of entrepreneurship from one of my mentors during my master's program. And so I thought, well, okay, let's see what this would look like and let's try it out, right? Then I didn't get some jobs that I wanted to get, and I had the opportunity to make a move because I didn't make that much money. And I thought, well, it's really not much. I'm not losing much. I'm not taking that much of a risk because my salary at that point was $25,000. I was making $25,000 as an assistant at the university. So I left, right? And that's when I started to realize personally that stability doesn't require a job. Now, this doesn't mean that everybody needs to be an entrepreneur. It's more of a mindset than it is your employee status. It's how do you figure out how to manage that when you have to be in control of your career. One of my favorite analogies is the train versus the ATV. So a lot of people think they're on a train, right? You're on a career train. You're just going to go. I know we talk about a ladder, but the ladder even takes more effort than I think some people think they're going to put into their career, right? They're going to get on the train and the train's going to take them through their career from end to end. And for some people that is and will be and will continue to be true. And that's okay. We might have those people that really need that, and we can help them find perhaps those limited options where that might still be true. Doctor, lawyer, those types of things. Although even those people would come to me and eventually figure out that being on the train ride wasn't always all that it cracked up to be. The ATV is a pro and a con, right? You've got all your own accountability. You've got to make sure you've got gas. You've got to know where you're going. You've got to have the directions. And you've got to be able to fix your vehicle when things go down. But you also have all the autonomy to figure out where you want to go. And helping people equip that vehicle to make the long trek, that's what career coaches do. And there's a tiny piece of technology to it. Yes, I love that part, right? We teach that part, how to use AI to do that. But a lot of it is more the human aspect of the fear, the risk, the objective stance that we have a hard time taking about ourselves. And that's what we can help people do. So how can you guide people into this new space? And we're going to be doing some more work on it. I wish I had a formula and an answer for you today, but I'm doing some more work on this. And I'd encourage you to think about that as well. How can you help people identify skills that aren't as replaceable by AI? I think part of the challenge there is that everybody's got a different opinion about that. Like, oh, soft skills won't be replaced. And then some people say, well, actually, AI has more empathy. So there's going to be a constant moving target there, but we can look at that and we can think about it. I think even just thinking about it even more, if we're not 100% correct, makes us, we're going in the right direction. So what skills are going to be replaced by AI? This Microsoft report does a great job of highlighting that. Let me pull up. So this was the report. Let me get to the front page so that we can look at like the name of this. And it's like a scientific study. So it's a little dense, but you can put it into ChatGPT or Perplexity and it will give you some ideas on making it a little less complex if you're not used to reading these types of papers. But working with AI, measuring occupational implications. I'll put this somewhere and drop the link so that you can just download it if you're having a hard time finding it. But this is the paper and it goes through all of that study of looking at the skills. Now, it's only one study. So there's some others that we've talked about before. I'll drop the link to some of that research that we've done before as well. But there's stuff out there of what skills is AI taking. So that's perhaps easier. And then what things do we know that it's not, that we can steer clients towards? That's one aspect of it, is that research, logistical studying piece. The other part, and we've been doing this for a long time, and it's always sounds simpler than it actually is when people dive in. Who are you? What do you want to be known for? And who needs to know you? Those are some of the big, deep questions that we help clients explore, and we give coaches the tools to explore during our Certified Personal Brand Strategist program. So it's a little bit deeper than just what do you want to do next, right? It is the roots of who are you? What do you want to be known for? And then after we get that, we can think about, okay, who needs to know you for you to get there? And this is one of my favorite processes. It's, I feel like it's part of what enables me to do what I do, because I had to find that thing that helped me get out of my shell, figure out what I wanted to do, and be comfortable doing it my way. And that's what we want to help our clients do. Figure out what they wanted to do and figure out how to be confident and comfortable doing it in their way, because that's how they're going to be successful. It's how they're going to differentiate themselves from their colleagues and their competitors and AI, so that they know this is the value that I bring. And it's not connected to the job that they do, because their professional identity cannot be connected to a job. It's going to change every 2 years. That's the struggle that we're having with a lot of our teachers and USAID workers and folks who are very mission driven in their work. That's good. But that identity was tied to maybe a little bit too much to the place, to that exact work. And we can help them reclaim that and figure out how they can move that identity internal so that they can take it from place to place, instead of looking externally for that identity to be connected to a specific organization or of a specific problem that they're solving. Because they can carry that inside when they figure out who are they, what do they want to be known for, and then they can figure out the new who needs to know them for them to be able to continue doing that similar type of work. And it's a very powerful transformational process that I've seen over and over, not just give coaches the tools to do it with their clients, but actually make a difference for the coach as well, who's then able to own that for themselves. So if you have questions about that, or you want to dig deeper into this process, let me know. Would be happy to answer questions. This does start next Tuesday live. We do offer it as on demand as well. But of course, live, you get to chat with all these lovely people who are doing the same work as you for themselves and for their clients. So as you dive into these reports, think about the model that the World Economic Forum created, that yes, there are these jobs and tasks that are being replaced or eliminated by many different forces. They may come back, right? Some things may bounce back for different reasons. It's going to be a constant process. But for everything that is being eliminated, there's space and energy then to put it towards something new that is in demand. And how do we help our clients figure out what that is and how to start moving in that direction? Maybe even as a side hustle while they're already employed, maybe as a new job if they're looking to make a move. So one of the things I'll leave you with today, Shelley, we were talking about the job hugging that's going on. And I'm not sure I'd call it job hugging because it's people staying in a job because they're nervous about the economic status. I would call it job clinging instead of job hugging, because hugging should be because you love something, right? So these job clingers, they are in a perfect position to start doing something that builds their career of the future, whether that's volunteering, taking some classes, doing a project, finding those things that can build the skills and the relationships that they'll need to make a move once they feel comfortable. And they can do it now while they have a job so that it has less risk. And that's how I started, right? I was at the university. I was working part-time for other people so that I could start my business. And it was an opportunity to do that in a safer way. I know that we're all tired and maybe we don't feel like we have time, but when you find something that gives you that breath of fresh air, learn a new skill, meet some cool people, whatever it might be, do something that feels more meaningful, they might be surprised at where they find the energy to take on that little thing. And maybe even help get their family, kids, whatever, to get engaged with them so that they can fill other parts of their life than just the job that they're clinging to. So I will leave you for now. We'll be back next Tuesday for another Trend Tuesday Live. If you've got clients that are job hugging, I'd love to hear that. And if you find some of those resources around what skills are growing for the future, share those with us as well. And keep your eye on this because we'll be coming back in the next month and continuing on with more resources, processes, and specifics to help you make this transition from the jobs and skills that are being taken by AI to the things that are growing and in demand. So keep up the great work, and we will see you next Tuesday for another Trend Tuesday Live. Thank you, everyone.